people aren't going to be banging on your door to talk, right? Stand up, stand in the front of your booth, invite people in, give them a reason to come there. Yeah, that's kind of what I think differentiates people who find success and who don't.
In the others category, I heard from someone last year who said he's heard that investors start coming and they look for tents that are booths that are 10 by 10 and good ideas with very scrappy looking materials and marketing. And they look at it from an investment standpoint. Like, is something like that being considered? I'm going to have a conversation with some VC folks later on this podcast, and I know they're going to do something similar on Second Nature. So I'm curious, like, does angel investing and venture have a space at TRE as well?
So that has come up more and more, I would say, in the past 2 years. So we are receiving interest from VCs, from banks, wanting to come and just get an understanding of, yes, some specific brands of the running industry and the future. So it's not a category that we are targeting at this point, but even without that, we are starting to see it, right? So their qualifications are different. Their badge is different, right? More expensive.
Is there a specific badge?
Yes.
For that?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
It's a non-exhibiting company. They're not a retailer. They're not exhibiting. So it's a higher price point admission because, at the end of the day, our focus is retail. So, they can come. And I think for some brands, that is important that they are there and meeting, but it's not the focus, right? Like, who is it for? And the retail remains our focus.
Is there any appetite for introducing like health tech that plays in the running space and other non-endemics that are like adjacent to running?
Yeah, so we're starting to get some interest from that. So with health tech, the lens we kind of look at brands through are you or do you want to be sold in run specialty? That's typically what we do.
It's pretty binary, yeah.
Exactly. But with some, I'm trying to think. So we've had interest from non-endemic like cars or, car companies or what have you. And I think as TRE continues to grow, we might see a little bit more of that, but it isn't our focus, right? It can enhance the experience if one of those brands wants to come in and do an experiential activity, but we also don't want to lose focus on the objectives of TRE. So it's not something we are going after just because, TRE is also 3 days. There's only so much time for so much. And we want to make sure business is taking place at the end of the day.
It's interesting because like on the media side, I'm obsessed with non-endemics and bringing them into the media space. I've done partnerships with a solar company. We drove $350,000 of revenue. We've done a deal with the local Volkswagen dealer and sold 12 cars. So like really strong return on ad spend on things that are adjacent to, I'm working on a deal with Rocket Money for a bunch of podcasts. So it's like a fintech platform that I've been using for years. It's like finding these things that the people who run are using or wanting to use and making that logical connection of like my audience is their audience, right? You look at cycling, this is not a novel concept. You look at golf, tennis, any F1, NASCAR, et cetera. Like Home Depot is on all of the NASCAR vehicles because the people that are watching NASCAR are shopping at Home Depot and doing home renovations and construction kind of a thing. So it's like, how do we match those things? But in a world like yours, it's not mission critical. Maybe at some point it becomes important or maybe not.
I know. And, we talked about this, and I think there's a world in the future where this takes place. But it's, you see non-endemic sponsor races all the time, of course, right? Because they are reaching runners. Our, TRE is the business side of running.
Right. It's not a consumer show. Yeah.
So they're some of the most influential people to those runners. They're not reaching them directly through. So it's just a little bit of a different sponsorship or sale of, who you are reaching at TRE.
So in more of an endemic either or, how do you think about road versus trail?
We think about we talk to brands, okay, what's your product? Who are you trying to reach? Ultimately, what I just said about, are you sold in run specialty? Do you want to be, that applies for road or trail. So of course we've seen growth in trail, and there's some fun new brands coming out in that world. And I think it's just elevated the industry. But, everyone's kind of treated the same.
What about challenger versus established brands? Is there more support provided to challenger brands? Is more the education provided to challenger brands?
So we try to, so the running event, so one thing we do for emerging brands, smaller brands, you have all the established brands at TRE, is placement on the floor, right? So you want to be sure that these smaller brands are found or they're seen. So we spread out the more established brands all like on the side of the floor. So you'll have Brooks and Hoka in the very back, right? You'll have a brand over to the
Because
left.
people will go to them.
Exactly. They'll go to them. So they'll pass by these less established brands
Smart.
that maybe these retailers wouldn't have come across otherwise. So, that's one thing, that we really do to just help these smaller brands. We also have numerous opportunities for telling your story or getting your brand out there. And that's really important. Like I said, there's 360 brands on the show floor. So we give many opportunities for these brands to get their brand in front of retailers in advance or on site at TRE with varying price points, and making sure that these smaller brands have that opportunity to be noticed and be seen and tell their story.
What sort of opportunity exists for brands that are not yet ready to demo or have a booth, but like want to attend? Is there room for them? And how do you create a pipeline of maybe you've not launched yet, or maybe you're too small to afford, but you're looking at 2026 and 2027 for when you plan to be live and ready to roll?
Great question. And it's a balance, and we would handle each of these on a case-by-case basis. We do get a lot of interest from brands who don't want to exhibit, but they just want to come. And, we have to police that pretty strictly, because out of protection for those brands who have paid to be there and show their product and meet with retailers. So in some cases, if a brand is not exhibiting, but they want to come, they can buy this non-exhibiting company badge. That's pretty expensive. It would make more sense for them pretty much to just exhibit, which is by design. In the case that it's a smaller brand, that it's new, they're just launching, we do guest badges. So I would talk to them and they could come, and someone from our team would meet them and walk them around the floor, show them the space, answer their questions. What is this space like? What is that? And make sure then that they are set up for future years and success, right? They not just coming and like walking around the floor, not getting the information that they need to make an informed decision about exhibiting in the future.
How do brands attending make it a success? Like, what's your formula? What's your guidance? I'm sure you've talked to a lot of brands who have said that, yeah, that was freaking awesome. I'm so glad I went. I wasn't thinking about doing it. Like, what are they doing right?
So, I think a brand will say they had a successful show if they met with the retailers that they wanted to. Right. So they had the conversation. They, many times you're trying to reach a retailer, you're sending them an email or whatever, and you're not getting a response. And finally you meet them in person. So it is those connections. And I would say what those brands do to separate themselves from everyone else is the effort in advance. We have an event guide, and they'll have an ad in there with their booth number and what their product is, right? Especially if they're a brand new brand or product, like a retailer won't even know what they are. So they do the work in advance. They also reach out to retailers and invite them, try to set up meetings. TRE can be very busy. We try to get people to walk the floor. Walk
like 14 meetings already.
You do. Right.
Shout out to the PR companies that are on top of things in September.
No, that's amazing. I love to hear that though, right? Because you're now going to go see those brands where,
right,
maybe a couple of them you wouldn't have if they didn't set up that appointment. So I think the pre-event work is really important. And we try to help as much as we can and give opportunity to get in front of the retailers. But it does require that. I'll also say this, I'll walk every aisle. I try to talk to as many people as I can. And there's a difference, if you're in your booth, to not just be like sitting at a table, like
on your phone. Yeah.
It's one of my biggest pet peeves. Like,
you paid all this money to be there. Don't blow it.
yeah, we'll sometimes receive a complaint, like, oh, I didn't meet anyone. And, I'm like, I went by your booth. People aren't going to be banging on your door to talk, right? Stand up, stand in the front of your booth, invite people in, give them a reason to come there. Yeah, that's kind of what I think differentiates people who find success and who don't.